If you're a Warriors fan and have ever felt like something just wasn't adding up, strange decisions, too much silence on the sidelines, and that nagging feeling that time is passing, pay attention now. Because the announcement that came out in the last few hours is not a detail, it is not a rumor. It is a turning point. He explains what was holding the team back, why so much uncertainty was growing, and most importantly, points out a real way to turn this game around. Stay with me in these next few seconds because understanding this completely changes the way we see the Warriors' present and future. Before I show you exactly what was said and why this changes everything, do the basics that strengthen the channel and put you in front of everyone. Subscribe now, like, and activate the bell because this news is evolving and you don't want to catch up late. And comment below. After this announcement, do you think the Warriors get better or worse? Right, Melhora, or worse? Now stay with me, because the most important part is not the ad itself. It's what it reveals behind the scenes. And I'll explain it to you right away. What has happened in the last few hours completely changes the way we look at the Golden State Warriors. It's not an exaggeration, it's not a dramatization, and much less an attempt to create unfounded fanfare. It is the realization that, in a very short period of time, the franchise's scenario has undergone a real, profound, and consequential shift. Anyone who follows the team closely feels this in their body before even reading any report or listening to any analyst. There's something different in the air, a sense of urgency that hasn't been so strong in years. The Warriors are going through a strange, almost uncomfortable moment today. It's not a bad team. Far from it. It is also not that team that enters the court with the certainty that it will run over any opponent. You're stuck in a dangerous middle ground, that place where the potential exists, but the execution doesn't keep up. Fans see glimpses. They see games in which everything seems to work, but soon after they watch games in which there is a lack of consistency, energy, or solutions. This instability erodes confidence and creates doubts that should not exist in a franchise used to competing for titles. The truth is that the formula that dominated the NBA for years no longer works the same way. Basketball has changed. Opponents have evolved. Windows of opportunity have become shorter. The Warriors, who for a long time were ahead of everyone, are now chasing to avoid falling behind. And when a team with a winning history finds itself in this position, each decision begins to have a multiplied weight. Jonathan Kuminga's departure was one of those moments that leaves a mark, not just for the player himself, but for what he represented: youth, explosion, the promise of a bridge between the glorious past and a competitive future. When he decides to seek a new path, the message is clear. Something wasn't working as it should. The cast loses an important piece, but, more than that, it loses a part of the plan that had been designed for the team's natural transition. Meanwhile, Stephen Curry continues to defy any logic related to time. He continues to play at an elite level, producing, deciding games, and being the gravitational center of everything the Warriors do on the court. But there is an uncomfortable truth that needs to be faced with maturity. You can't carry everything alone. It doesn't matter how genius he is. Today's basketball demands more. It demands balance. It demands that the weight be distributed. When this doesn't happen, the limit appears quickly. Draymond Green still delivers intensity, game reading, and leadership, but he is also not immune to the wear and tear of the years. The body feels it, the rhythm changes, and the margins for error decrease. The Warriors know this. The fans know this. Ignoring this reality would be turning a blind eye to the obvious. Time waits for no one, not even dynasties. It is in this context that the proximity of the trade deadline gains enormous importance. It's not just about adjusting the cast, seeking depth, or correcting details. This is about deciding the direction of the franchise for the coming years. Staying as is means betting that chemistry and experience will make up for clear gaps in talent and physique. Making small moves improves the present, but hardly changes the competitive ceiling. A big bet changes everything, for better or for worse. What has happened recently in the league has drastically altered that board. A serious injury, one that no one wants to see, ended the season of one of the NBA's main stars. And although the human side of this situation is always the most important, in the sporting aspect, the impact is inevitable. When a player of this caliber leaves the scene, entire chains of decisions are reorganized. Teams change plans, negotiations break down, and unexpected opportunities arise. For the Warriors, this move closed a door that had been closely watched, but it made room for something even bigger. Suddenly, the scenario became clearer. The safe options disappeared and the path began to require courage. That's when, with more force than ever, a name that has accompanied the franchise for years appears, like a kind of distant, almost unattainable dream. Giannis Antetokounmpo has always been in this imaginary, not as empty speculation but as a possibility that depended on very specific circumstances. A player of this level does not become available easily. He represents physical dominance, defensive impact, offensive production, and a winning mentality that changes the level of any team instantly. Talking about it is not talking about fine-tuning, it is talking about total transformation. It is important to be honest. There is no formal exchange request. There is no public declaration of dissatisfaction. All of this is still within the realm of possibilities, but real possibilities, supported by a context that begins to make sense. Milwaukee is not going through its best phase, expectations are not being met, and time is also passing for its protagonists. At some point, difficult questions arise, even for the most loyal players. From the point of view of fit on the court, the idea is almost scary. Curry attracting markings, opening up space, while Giannis attacks with strength, speed, and aggression. The defense would gain another dimension. The transition would become lethal, and the Warriors would once again impose fear on their opponents. It wouldn't be a perfect team, but it would be a team with answers, something that today is lacking in many decisive moments. The price, of course, would be very high. A movement of this type requires profound sacrifices, draft picks, young talent, future flexibility. It is a bet concentrated in a short space of time, 2 or 3 years to try to extract everything that still exists from the current core, enhanced by generational talent. If it works, the legacy is strengthened. If it goes wrong, the reconstruction process will be inevitable and painful. It is exactly this dilemma that defines great franchises. Playing it safe may seem sensible, but it rarely builds unforgettable stories. Being aggressive involves risks, but it also creates opportunities that don't come twice. The Warriors are at that kind of crossroads. There is no easy decision, just choices with very different consequences. The most fascinating thing is to see how all of this gained urgency in a matter of days. What once seemed unlikely now demands immediate attention. The calendar is unforgiving, the trade deadline approaches, and behind-the-scenes conversations intensify. Every hour counts. Each new piece of information can change the course of negotiations. For fans, this generates anxiety, expectation, and even fear. Fear of seeing the definitive end of an era. Fear of betting big and losing. But there is also hope. The hope of seeing the team fight until the last second while there is still time. The hope of not wasting the last years of a player who redefined the franchise and marked an entire generation. In the end, what is at stake is identity. The Warriors have always been known for daring, for going beyond the obvious, for trusting in ideas that many considered risky. This is how he built his dynasty. Now, the question returns with full force. Does the franchise still have that courage? The next few days will answer that. Decisions made now will be remembered for a long time, regardless of the outcome. And that's exactly why this announcement, this new context, shocked so many people. Because he doesn't just talk about one player or one trade. He talks about the future, legacy, and how far the Warriors are willing to go to stay relevant. As a fan, as someone who follows this story closely, it is impossible not to feel the weight of the moment. It's not just another news story. It's a watershed moment. And the feeling is clear. Something big is brewing, for better or for worse. Silence is no longer an option. The Warriors need to act, decide, and accept the consequences. This is how great stories continue to be written. Now it all comes down to a choice. There is no longer room for middle ground, for timid decisions, or for waiting for time to resolve what only attitude can change. The Warriors have reached that point in history where each movement defines whether the flame continues to burn or whether it begins to slowly go out. The announcement that has surfaced is not just behind-the-scenes news. It is a clear sign that the clock is ticking and that the future is being decided now, in the next few days, in the next conversations, in the next silent decisions. If the Warriors act, they could reignite fear in the league and put their name back among the true title contenders. If you hesitate, you run the risk of watching another season slip through your fingers while the window closes definitively. This is the kind of moment that separates ordinary franchises from historic organizations. And you, as a fan, are experiencing this in time real powder. So, if you want to follow every development, every update, every detail that can change everything from one moment to the next step is simple. Check the Golden State Warriors News Today playlist in the pinned comment. There, I organize all the news, analysis, and updates, so you don't miss anything that's happening right now with the Warriors. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over. And when the next chapter is written, you'll be prepared to understand exactly what happened, why it happened, and what comes next.